Every decision you make today, from what you ate for breakfast to how you reacted to that text message, wasn't really your choice. Your emotions made those calls before your rational mind even had a chance to weigh in. And the scary part, you probably didn't even notice it happening. Most people believe they're logical beings who occasionally feel emotions. The truth is exactly the opposite. You're an emotional being who occasionally thinks logically. Your brain processes emotional information in about 1/5 of a second, while conscious reasoning takes much longer. By the time you think you're making a rational decision, your emotions have already set the stage. The human brain evolved with emotions as its primary navigation system. Long before our ancestors developed complex language or reasoning abilities, they relied on fear to avoid predators and joy to seek out food and companionship. These emotional responses kept them alive. Today, you still carry that same ancient wiring, even though you're navigating spreadsheets instead of savannas. Consider your morning routine. You hit the snooze button not because you rationally calculated you need 7 more minutes of sleep, but because the emotional comfort of staying in bed outweighed the abstract future consequence of being late. You snapped at your colleague not because you logically assessed their comment and found it wanting, but because something in their tone triggered an emotional response faster than you could control it. Research shows that people with damage to the emotional centers of their brain struggle to make even basic decisions. One famous case involved a patient who spent half an hour debating which color pen to use, without emotions to assign value and urgency to options. His rational mind spun in circles. Emotions aren't the enemy of good decisions. They're actually essential for making any decisions at all. Your emotional state acts like a filter through which you perceive reality. When you're anxious, neutral situations suddenly seem threatening. When you're happy, you notice opportunities everywhere. Two people can experience the exact same event and walk away with completely different memories because their emotional states colored their perception differently. You're not seeing the world as it is. You're seeing the world as you feel. This emotional filtering happens automatically and constantly. Your brain tags every experience with an emotional marker, filing it away for future reference. When you encounter something similar later, your brain pulls up that emotional tag first. This is why a song can instantly transport you back to a specific moment, complete with all the feelings you had then. It's why certain smells trigger powerful memories. Your emotional brain is always working in the background, connecting dots and influencing behavior. The relationship between thoughts and emotions isn't one way. While emotions drive many of your thoughts also generate emotions. Tell yourself a story about how someone disrespected you, and you'll feel angry, even if that story isn't accurate. Imagine a worst-case scenario vividly enough, and your body will produce the same stress response as if it were actually happening. Your mind can't always distinguish between imagination and reality when emotions are involved. This loop between thoughts and feelings creates your emotional baseline. Some people live in a chronic state of low-level anxiety, always scanning for problems. Others maintain a generally optimistic outlook, bouncing back quickly from setbacks. These aren't fixed personality traits. They're learned patterns that your brain has practiced so many times, they've become automatic. And what's learned can be unlearned. Your body and emotions communicate constantly through chemical messengers. When you're stressed, cortisol floods your system, putting you on high alert and making you more reactive. When you're content, your brain releases dopamine and serotonin, reinforcing whatever behavior led to that feeling. You might think you're choosing to scroll social media for 2 hours, but really, you're chasing those micro hits of dopamine that come with each new notification. Marketing professionals understand this better than most people understand themselves. Advertisements rarely focus on product features. Instead, they sell emotional states. Buy this car and feel powerful. Use this skincare and feel confident. Drink this beverage and feel young and carefree. They're not stupid. They know that emotional appeals bypass rational scrutiny and drive purchasing decisions far more effectively than logical arguments ever could. Your relationships are perhaps the clearest example of emotional control. You can rationally know that someone is wrong for you, yet stay with them because the emotional attachment overrides logic. You can understand intellectually that holding a grudge hurts you more than the other person, yet struggle to let it go because the anger feels justified. You can recognize that you should have an uncomfortable conversation, yet avoid it because the emotional discomfort feels unbearable in the moment. Even your memories aren't reliable records of what happened. Every time you recall a memory, you're actually reconstructing it based on your current emotional state. This is why the same childhood event might feel different when you remember it at different points in your life. Your present emotions literally reshape your past. The emotions you resist or suppress don't disappear, they go underground, influencing your behavior in ways you don't recognize. That unexplained fatigue might be unfelt sadness. That constant irritability could be masked anxiety. That perfectionism might be fear of rejection wearing a productive disguise. Your emotions will express themselves one way or another. The only question is whether you'll be aware of it. Understanding that emotions drive the majority of your behavior isn't depressing. It's actually liberating. Once you stop pretending you're a purely rational being, you can work with your emotional nature instead of against it. You can learn to notice the feeling before the reaction. You can create space between stimulus and response. You can choose which emotions to nurture and which to let pass. The goal isn't to eliminate emotions or to be controlled by logic instead. The goal is integration. Your emotions provide valuable information about what matters to you, what threatens you, and what brings you alive. Your rational mind can then take that information and decide how to respond in ways that align with your values and long-term goals. This partnership between feeling and thinking is where wisdom lives. Start paying attention to the emotional undercurrent in your daily life. Notice what you're feeling before you make decisions. Observe how your mood shapes your perception of events. Recognize the patterns that keep showing up. This awareness alone begins to loosen the invisible grip emotions have on your behavior. You can't control what you can't see. Your emotions aren't random chaos to be feared or suppressed. They're a sophisticated guidance system that's been refined over millions of years of evolution. The problem isn't that you have emotions. The problem is that you were never taught how to understand them, work with them, or learn from them. You've been running on autopilot, letting these powerful forces steer your life from behind the scenes. But now you know the truth. Every choice, every reaction, every direction you take is colored by emotion. The question isn't whether your emotions control your life. They do. The real question is whether you'll remain unconscious of that fact, or finally start paying attention to the most powerful force shaping your existence. Your emotions have been driving all along. Maybe it's time you got to know the driver.